voice of growth, mastering the mind and market. Welcome back to the Voice of Growth podcast, Mastering the Mind and Market. My name is Manny Teran, and I'm your host. $82.7 billion. That's the amount that Netflix has put forth in a bid to acquire Warner Brothers Studios, TV and film, as well as HBO and HBO Max. This deal, if it's able to cross all the regulatory antitrust sort of things, can reshape the way that Hollywood creates movies, distributes movies, and ultimately how value is delivered in the entertainment industry. Now, that phrase has a special meaning, value delivery. And the fact that Netflix is an organization that understands that it's always been delivering entertainment. So when I worked alongside Adam Hartung at Spark Partners, we talked a lot about trends. We talked a lot about value and value delivery. And there is a significant difference between the two. Let me explain why this is important. If I go and I buy something, the value that's exchanged there is at a lower level, at a different level than what you may think. If I'm buying food from Whole Foods, I go in there, I spend $120 on some steak, some wine, some vegetables, a gallon of milk, and some eggs. Okay. You would suspect that that's the value of what I'm buying. I'm spending the money, I'm getting this, and that's the value. But in fact, the value is even beyond that. So the value for me is healthy foods, so I can eat with my family, so I can operate at an optimal level, so that I can enjoy my evening. I love cooking, so I can also enjoy the time. So all those things are bundled as the true value of that merchandise. The value delivery is the store, is the eggs, is the milk, and is the whole value chain beyond that. So how they actually get the steak from the farm to my table. All of that is bundled under the value delivery. The reason why Netflix is interesting in this conversation is because Adam and I used to use that as an example of an organization that truly understands their value. So Netflix's value is that they deliver entertainment. They started off, of course, delivering DVDs by mail. Then many, many years later, they divested some of their warehouses so they can take some of that cash, and they invested in this new thing called streaming. Then after many, many years, they then created their own studio so they can have original content, and essentially became the number one biggest studio in the world. All along that time frame, their value remained the same. The value delivery is the only thing that changed. Value, they deliver entertainment. Value delivery, DVDs by mail. Right here, and the second one, value, they deliver entertainment. Value delivery, streaming. The third one, here we go again. Value, we deliver entertainment. Value delivery, content from their own studios. This next chapter in the Netflix saga, if it goes through, can really redefine the way that Hollywood produces movies and distributes movies. That whole entertainment world will essentially shift. Now, Netflix has said that they do not want to cease taking things to the theater. But just imagine this. Imagine some of their original series going to the theater. Imagine that they now have access to the entire tool chain, from not just the content of their own library, but now they have this 100-year-old content from Warner Brothers. They have Game of Thrones, they have Casablanca, they have all these franchises that they can add additional spin-offs, they can add prequels and sequels. I mean, the creativity that is there, to me, is exciting. Not everybody's the same way excited, however. The Screen Actors Guild, other folks in the industry are raising flags that it could cause a lot of issues with respect to human resources. If you think about the fact that Netflix has its own studios, actors, equipment, and so forth, so does Warner Brothers. And so if you combine them, you'll need less of the equipment, of the production staff. You'll need less of the actors. So there's some red flags that are legitimate here that are being raised with respect to this potential acquisition. The other thing, of course, is that there is a tremendous amount of antitrust and regulatory hurdles that need to be addressed as well. Larry Ellison, who is one of the top shareholders of Paramount, also wanted to buy Warner Brothers. So there could be some issues there because Larry Ellison, of course, is close to the Trump family. And so there could be some issues there, and certainly something to watch. When Fox was being acquired years ago, there was an issue that there was some lawsuits that lasted 2 years. So who knows what's going to happen with all this. I made some notes here that might be interesting to share with respect to this potential acquisition. So first of all, this deal shows how value isn't just about performance or growth. It's really about owning the value chain, and it's about understanding your evolving DNA. Innovation. What does that word mean? Well, to us, it means that you create things or services that people want to buy, and this is the simplest definition. So you're creating new things so that people want to buy. That's fundamentally what it is. So people think innovation is technology, not necessarily. You're just creating things that people want to buy at the very fundamental form. And so if people stop wanting to buy like the DVDs, then you need to innovate and create the streaming model. And if everybody else is streaming, then you need to figure out how to add additional value and keep that ball moving forward. This new piece of adding on Warner Brothers could keep that momentum going. Now, there was another thing that Netflix was doing, which was entering into the gaming market, and that was going to be their next big chapter. Frankly, it hasn't gone as well as the others, but then again, these are things that organizations try out, they study them, they assess them, and if they don't work out, they can push them aside. All these large organizations are doing things under the flag of innovation. Amazon had a store that you walked into the store read your phone number that was linked up to whatever. You take whatever you want and you walk out the door without paying. So everything had RFID tags. It was supposed to be something that would be ideal for or places like big cities where people just want to come in, get something and go. What happened is it didn't work out. And they did their homework, they got some data, and they ended up closing those stores. Nothing wrong with that. And the reason I mention that is you as a business leader, business owner, are making decisions to try things out. And you think, well, I can't do that. I don't have the resources of Amazon. But you have other things you can do at a smaller scale. If you are if you have a lawn care business or a landscaping business and you want to try out installing security cameras, then you can create a blank space team, which you've talked about in the past. They can go out and see if the market is there, if the value is there, if their value delivery method is there. If it's not there, then you can reel back and remember what you learned, make some reports, put it all down in data, and then try something else later on. You need to continuously look for what the customer wants. So another thing about this deal is it showcases the idea of how, as leaders and entrepreneurs, you want to stack your capabilities vertically to create resilience. So by having their own studios, by then acquiring HBO and HBO Max, they can basically make the experience for the user better per dollar. They can also extend their reach with respect to demographics. They can have new actors, new ideas put out there in different ways. So the test bed has grown, and so they can now expand on that. And that's something that, as an entrepreneur, should be kept in mind, because if the market shifts and you don't have a way to get to where it's going, you're hosed. As a matter of fact, the largest companies, the ones that are the most successful, are typically leading the charge because they understand trends. They understand where things are going, so they get in front of the trend. So when it lands there, they're ready to go. I'm excited about this Netflix thing, to be honest. I think there's a lot of things at stake for sure. But this deal really underscores a lot about what Perfectory and the Voice of Growth is about. Mastering the mind and market. When you understand how businesses grow, even if they're massive, $62, $82 billion transactions here, you can still take a lot from it to apply it to your own organization. A lot of times, as a business leader, we're paralyzed by fear. We look at a situation, we look at our resources, and we're fearful of acting. And essentially, all we do is we defend and extend. Another tribute to Adam Hartung in his book, Create Marketplace Disruption, he talks about this idea of defend and extend. Some of these organizations you might know, like Toys R Us, like Sears, what they did, rather than innovate, rather than look at what's happening beyond tomorrow, we're talking about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what are the trends behind that? They instead decided to defend their value and their value delivery and extend it. The fact that they did that was their clear demise. If you look at Sears, which was a corner of America for 100 years, what they did is they created a mail order business. They created this one-stop shop, sort of general mercantile to the nth degree. And they were literally the cornerstone of malls. So when Amazon came in and e-commerce came into play, they knew about it. They knew about it. But they chose to not go in that direction. They chose to defend and extend. And by doing so, we're signing their death warrant. It's sad because these organizations could have been powerhouses. Imagine in that boardroom, then instead of them being prideful about the fact that they are literally the corner of the mall, and who the hell are these people think that have this e-commerce business, if instead they said, you know what, we're going to get in front of this. We're going to close half our stores, and the other half we're going to turn into a smaller model when people can buy the things that are really high value, that people know us for, Craftsman tools, some of the other features. And then the back will turn into a warehouse, and we'll become the new quote unquote Amazon. We will ship things, or people can order online and then they can come pick them up at the store. And as time progresses, as we get more momentum, we'll flip the model and we'll start to deliver them when they order them online. Sears could have been bigger than Amazon, bigger than Walmart combined, but they didn't go there. And now they are dead. Same thing can be said for Toys R Us. Same thing can be said for Kodak. And why do we talk about these things? Because we want you to look beyond what you have in front of you. We want you to really understand trends, understand value and value delivery, so that you are nimble, so that you're putting things in place and resources in place now. So when the market is there in 3-5 years, you're ready to go. It sounds a lot easier said than done, no doubt. But you need to take that first step. This $82.7 billion deal is just a reminder for us to look at and really study and explore why these decisions are being made. And for yourself, being able to dissect your own strategy, bring in people that can challenge that strategy, and then apply it to your market and test it. There's so much value in bringing in outside help. It doesn't have to be a consultant. It doesn't have to be some high-powered group like Boston Consulting or, Accenture or whatnot. It can be some good friends. It could be a consultant. It could be a business coach. Could be your spouse. Could be your cousin. But you need to create some people around you because you're already filled with bias. And then you're filled with fear, and you're filled with angst and anxiety, maybe not all at the same time, but even if you are an intrepid, very, hard-driving entrepreneur, and you're going to make mistakes. Now, if you bring your group around you and you really tease out the bias, and they bring up ideas that you didn't think about, and rather than push them away, you say thank you and you write them down. Then you can go sit in your office, take a hike, whatever, and make that decision with the information you have on hand. Even if you decide to go in a direction completely different from what they said, you now have the tools and the resources ready. This is something that I've watched so many times in front of me, and this is something that I've done myself for a long time as well. If I'm fearful, if I have some issues that I'm working through in my mind for my business, and I have lunch with a friend, or I make the time to talk about that with somebody, at the end of that, it's for me, it doesn't add anxiety, it actually takes it away. Because now I've got another vantage point. And even if they say, look, Manny, what you're doing, what you want to do here, I wouldn't recommend it. At least now I understand maybe why they said that. And by understanding why, maybe I can mitigate why, and I can actually get around it or get beyond it. So all these things in this conversation stem from this deal from Netflix. So let's watch out to see what happens in the next year or two here with this deal. I'm excited. Certainly there's a lot of hurdles that need to be addressed, but use this as an example to go down some rabbit holes on YouTube or on Google as it pertains to value and value delivery. The more you understand that there is a difference between the two, the more you can take advantage of it for your own business to take it to the next level. Thank you. Cheers.